Hi, welcome to the podcast, another episode of this wonderful, wonderful podcast. I am one of the people that will be speaking to you, and you will be the one that is listening. But next to me in the virtual space is the beautiful, the wonderful, the fabulous Kristin. Hi, how are you doing?
Hello, hi. Good afternoon.
Yes, it is afternoon, everyone. It's afternoon and the sun is down.
And it's raining outside.
Oh, it sounds so beautiful. It's like therapeutic, you know? Oh my God, this weather.
I love it.
Honestly, like when the clouds are kind of, like the sun's peeking out of the clouds, it looks like God is like coming down, or angels, or aliens, either one, whatever you believe.
And they're
in.
all going to smite us.
Yeah, they're
smite
like,
me all.
You don't know anything, so here we go. This is what you get, hellfire. I don't know. Oh my goodness. So on today's episode, we don't really know how to give you advice because we're going through the same exact thing. Like the podcast suggests, we are literal unprofessional people. We have no training or certification for anything we're going to tell you, but we do have some good advice. So if you want, I know that's a horrible selling point, but
you're more than welcome to listen to us.
I guess the perfectionist part is not, we know the perfectionist part is not. It's just we're very particular with our relationships and the energies we surround ourselves with. So take everything with a grain of heaving salt, garlic salt, if you may. And
Himalayan pink salt.
Oh my God. That's so good. I would love that. Oh my God. But Kristin, do you mind introducing the beautiful, the wonderful listeners out there? What are we talking about today? What are we gonna confront today? Huh?
Of course. So today our topic is confrontation. And as we all know, confrontation is like a hostile or argumentative topic that we have with one another. And here we are. We're here to just talk it out. I got some beef with you, I guess. Well, what if I don't feel like it next time? And what if I just don't ever want to talk to you ever again?
Oh my God. Then I'll cry and I'll realize my self-worth, and I have researched. I have DuckDuckGo, I have Google, and I have other friends, Kristin. God.
I just really call it, a conversation that I don't want to have with someone. Yeah. But I gotta have.
You're like, I guess. But confrontation, like that's kind of the connotation I get with it, where it's like, I don't want to talk to like my boss, or I don't want to talk to like the teacher or like educator or whatever, or my parents. But then confrontation with like friends or like more intimate relationships seem more anxiety inducing in some way.
I feel like it's more anxiety inducing with like friends and relationships because you automatically assume what's going to happen, you overthink and you're like, okay, well, either I'm going to be broken up with, or I'm going to lose my friendship with this person just because I'm not happy with this one thing,
Yeah. And it's like, oh my gosh, like communicating what you're not happy with. Like, okay, let's go. Like when you have that confrontation with a friend, let's start there with a friend. Do you have like a list of things, like when you haven't, because friends don't talk on a daily most of the time, or they don't really have those confrontations because it's a lighter load of a friendship. It's less commitment than a, familial or a romantic relationship or emotional connection. So it's like the time spent apart kind of like adds on to like the facets of like what you could be frustrated with, right? So do you come into those confrontations, whether it be positive or negative, with like a list of things? Because I find myself doing that, or I like to write down, like almost like in therapy, literally. I'm like, write down a list of things I want to work on, things I don't like, and things I really like about the relationship. I'm like, all right, let's hit it. Confrontation time. If I don't talk to them a lot.
I do think of, certain situations where I'm like, okay, well, I don't like what they did. And certain situations where I'm like, okay, well, I don't like what they did. And like, I have always been told to do like a compliment sandwich kind of thing where you're hey,
praise, praise.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's, like my dad has always taught me that, where it's like, hey, you're doing a great job, but instead maybe you should do this. So next time things will be better, because
it works, right?
We're human. No one likes being told what they're doing is wrong, or like other people don't like that, So it's just, it's something that like it needs to be brought up. Yeah. But I wouldn't really consider doing like a whole, hey, this is what's bothering me, and then just being like, this, and this. But I do really enjoy our friendship, because then it's just going to, it's going to make that other person feel really insecure about themselves. And they're like, oh my God, there's so many things that this one person doesn't like about me.
You do nothing right. You just do everything wrong, which is like me. Oh, yeah. like we ran that poll, right? We asked everyone listening, like how they do it. And like a majority of the folks that like responded were kind of like they just do it, which I doubt. I doubt people are like, yo, I'm ready to have this conversation, whatever, unless they're the people that make me anxious, which maybe they are. I don't know. I don't see that being a common thing or like a really general idea of just approaching it with ease, nonchalant energy of just like, yeah, it's something that needs to be done. Let me just do it. Hey, we need to talk. Very like curt almost,
I think it just depends on the person, because I'm the type of person who kind of waits a while, but when I wait, it festers and then it makes things worse for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, okay, well, I know I need to talk to this person about this. Or I do the other thing where I text the person and I'm like, hey, if you have time later, I want to talk to you about something. And then they immediately text back saying, well, what do you want to talk about? And I'm like,
subject line, let's go, Kristin.
And I'm just like, I don't want to talk about it right now. And then they're like, well, why are you going to bring this up? Because like, it's going to make me think something else. Yeah. And I'm just like, it's not good, but it's not bad. And they're like, why are you telling me this now? And I'm like, because I just want your time later. Like, just let me know if you're free later or not.
Because like, I understand like how you communicate. And that's the thing. It's like everyone has a different style of communicating. Even though I don't do that, I understand. Because like, I know you, that you want my undivided attention later on. So we could talk about something that's like either weighing on you or just something that's more important. It doesn't even have to be about us or our relationship. It's just that undivided, respectful or time, respecting each other's time and energy. And like, I get that. Yeah, what about someone that's like, dude, that's literally not a perfect person like us, because we're fucking perfect. Why do you want to talk to like, they're literally confronting you like, why do you want to talk to me about this? Like, get the fuck away from me. Yeah, subject line.
Well, you mean like, why are you asking me to wait? Like, why don't you just tell me now? Or like if I tell them how they feel, like how I feel about it, and then they're like, why are you bringing this up? I don't care.
Yeah. Oh, is that kind of the thing? Is that why you don't want to bring it up? So, because they'll like lag on you and lag on the confrontation kind of?
When I'm like, okay, well, I'm ready to confront, it's usually when I'm at work and I'm like overthinking everything and I'm like, okay, well, I feel like this person is mad at me or something. And I know that they're at work too. So it's like, I can't talk to them until later. Like,
oh, yeah.
Call them and be like, hey, what the fuck? Like, are you upset with me?
Voicemail will be like, you are a piece of shit and you're upset with me. But you know what? I'm a piece of shit and I would be upset with myself too. Don't worry about it, friends.
Exactly.
Don't worry. Yeah. Overthinking it. Oh my God.
But I mean, that's just how I am. And I know some people are like perfect example. A couple weeks ago, my friend was like, hey, I got to talk to you about something straight up. And I was like, oh my God, what did I do?
There it is.
I immediately assumed that I did something wrong. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I say? Did I say something to someone that got back to you? Like, what? Like, and I'm like, no, I didn't. I didn't do any of this stuff. And then they talked to me about it. And I'm like, that's it? That's all you wanted to talk about? And they're like, yeah, but like, I was just wondering if you were free now. And, like, they ripped off the Band-Aid. What I like to do is I like to fucking play with my wound for a little and then be like, okay, well, maybe I should clean this.
Yeah, you're like, it's a scab already. And now
I picked it off. And it's bleeding.
Scar? Oh my God.
Should I clean this so it doesn't get infected? Or should I wait?
Let's wait. That's what I do. I'm like, ooh. But like, I do this subject line thing because like, I personally feel anxious and I know people, Twitter or something, or like, people are kind of like just putting their thoughts out there. Like, I don't like confrontation. Like, I know it's something that is not normalized or it's not something that people are comfortable with. So I'm like, you know what, to make it to ease up, I'll include the subject of it if it's not too like, heavy. Or even if it's heavy, I'm like, oh, it's okay if like we talk about this when you're like in the headspace to talk about like this, meaning the literal subject line. Like, for example, it'll be like kind of like a check-in and it was a confrontation. It's like, because like there's some points where it's like the PDP, the praise, discipline, praise. Not saying I gotta discipline anyone, but I'm just that sandwich of compliments where it's like there's so many things I love about, and there's always something that I would like to work with because there's something that we want to grow with.
Something that you want to improve.
Yet that's so hard to pinpoint because we always think about what is the things we have to work out. What are the things we have to work on and on ourselves without giving that praise, without giving that acknowledgement of what is going right. And I didn't know really how to approach that. So I said, hey, is it okay if like we meet up, have lunch and like talk about a relationship, like, check in, like emotionally, how we're doing, like, sexually, intimately, mentally, don't laugh at me. I have, fuck. Yeah, whatever. It's so taboo, right? Because it's like, you've known me as like demisexual. So it's like, I haven't done that like this whole time I've known you. I feel like, yeah.
All I hear is, I'm fucking talking. And I'm like, all right.
You're like, yikes.
Okay.
I know, that's all I talk about now. Oh my God.
I'm like, me too, but damn.
But damn, this boy's on it.
Damn, keep it to yourself. Shit.
Oh, true. Keep it to my sex journal. It was hard because like when I got there, it was exactly the setting I wanted, right? Like in person, like that's the respect I wanted from undivided, other than us drinking boba, undivided attention, face to face, everything. And I was like, yeah, it can't happen over the phone, can't happen over text. Like it was like, we need to respect each other's boundaries and also respect the time. Yet, dude, when we got into the space of doing it, like when I was ready, I was like, damn, when we got there, I was like, I froze. Like I was like, because I talked to my therapist the same morning. And this happened at lunch. Like, I was like, how do I do this? And I was like, yo, easy. It's not going to be a confrontation. It's a constructive conversation between us. It's a healthy check-in. And I was like, yo, I have notes on it, which I didn't pull out. I was going to pull them out and be like, so this is like, you know, to help me get into the habit. And when I got there, like I kind of froze and I was just like, okay, I need to be serious for a second, which is not what I want to hear. That's not what I wanted to say. And it literally just went into like a Thomas the Choo-Choo train wreck. Like literally just, it was the worst. It was just,
Well, that's how I am too.
Is it? Okay.
Because I'll be like,
my God, good.
Yeah, because I'll be like, okay, I know I need to talk to this person about this certain situation. And then we hang out and we have this great time. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to like bring it up right now because we're having fun. And then like towards the end, I'm like, okay, I don't want to like talk about it anymore because like it's going to ruin the end of the night. And it's like,
bro, right.
You're just like, okay, like, where do I even talk about this? Or,
yeah.
And then they're like, oh, what did you want to talk about? And then I'm like, nothing, never mind. And they're like, no, you can't do that. Like, you have to talk. Yeah, you have to talk about what's been going on in your mind. And then I'm like, well, I just wanted to talk about this. I just didn't want to ruin, like, the fun that we had today.
Yeah.
And they're just like, no, it's fine. And I'm like, but is it? Is it fine?
Is it? And now there's a limited time to talk about it. That's where those late night conversations come from. Because it's like, all right, when everything subsides, it's like, now we could get to the topics or the heavier topics.
The nitty gritty.
The nitty gritty. Or like, you know, park conversations before you let them out. It's like, wait, I actually wanted to hang out with you the whole day just to say these two sentences. You know what I'm saying? Like that.
Yeah.
I hate that. I don't hate that, but it's just like, it's unfortunate that we put it off so long. Cause like, I feel exact same where it's like, I don't want to ruin the night, right? Like, I don't want to ruin the time. Yet there's nothing about that conversation that's going to ruin anything. It's going to be like, it could be an ongoing thing throughout the day, which has happened before with one of my previous partners. We did that check-in in the morning. Like we were going to hang out all day. And I was like, dude, in the morning, it was a make it or break it. Like, that's it. End of the day, ruined day if it goes wrong. But it was like a consistent thing as we were doing stuff, like as we were having fun, as we were just like driving and stuff like that. And it was like a recurring conversation, like between us talking or listening to music. And we'll mention something like we want to work on or like something that we really like doing together. Ultimately, that relationship's over. So it's okay. That was something I did really learn from. Like, it's okay to like bring that up like sooner than later. Because then you don't want to be waiting there and being like, you know, at the end of the day, because like I lived really far. At the end of the day, like I'm there for 2 more hours and then I'm like coming home at like 4 a.m., you know?
Yeah, I think what I do recommend is like when you want to break up with someone, do that immediately. Oh, when you see each other. Do not spend the whole day with someone.
And then break up after.
And then be like, hey, I had a great night, but I don't think we should be together
anymore. Some people do that. They like eat the whole.
They do that, and it's awful.
I know that. Okay, like awful on like both people's parts. Like awful because you have to drag your day on with this person that's going to break up with you, and then vice versa. You have to drag your day on with someone that you want to break up with. Why even be with them? Why in the first place? You know, like if they live far, that sucks because you have to like drive there, like meet up, and then be like, so no, okay, maybe you zoom in. I don't know.
This ain't working.
This ain't zoom out of there, you know. But
yeah, I feel like if you like live far away from the person, then I would consider like doing like a FaceTime,
talk it out, and be like, if it's a healthy breakup where it's just, you know, sometimes it doesn't work, you know. Like honestly, like that was one of the things, like for a few of my partners, like I'm very fortunate to have very constructive past relationships for the past few years that have been pretty healthy. Like they've been healthy throughout. Just things didn't work out, whether it be distance and stuff, but the way we left it, I wouldn't say like amazing terms, but I wouldn't even say bad terms, as in there was communication on why it was happening. There's communication on like what we got out of the relationship and everything.
Well, of course. Well, of course. And it's, you know, you have this connection with this person, you know, a physical way and an emotional way and a sexual way. And it's a lot harder to end things when you know so much about this person.
Yeah, and seeing friends after that, oh, don't recommend that, like mutuals or friends. Even if you don't interact and stuff, it just like personally, like I'm like, that's hard. Like you got to distance for a little bit at least.
Yeah, I do agree with that too. And, I feel like breakups are hard, but I also think that like friendships that end are a lot harder too, especially the ones where you don't talk about it, and it just disintegrates in front of you.
Just that distance. It's hard because it's like when that distance, you feel that distance first settle in, and you're like, yeah, this could go one of two ways. Either they grow apart from us, the relationship is kind of just withering away, like you said, or it's going to lead to that confrontational fallout, which usually happens because it's so frustrating for either one person more than the other, and that lack of effort and that nonchalant attitude and kind of like lackluster emotion is so frustrating. Yet if both people are frustrated, I feel like it's even worse though, because they just bring up shit. Just communication in general, whether it's confrontational or not, it doesn't need to be pent up emotions. Like we need to communicate it right away so it's not a confrontation. Even if it's over text and it's something reasonable. We don't use the word like annoying because like literal trigger word for us, like being called annoying by people and like feeling like we're annoying. So like I get a little irritated when you do this. So that's better because it's the emotions on ourselves, where it's like I feel irritated and it might not be something that you're doing knowingly, or it might be one of your idiosyncrasies, but I want you to be mindful of it just when we're around, so we can work on it, work around it somehow, eventually, and that's hard because I'm like with friends, I'm like, I don't mention that. I don't mention things that like kind of bother me. I don't mention things that like,
I think you should.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's easy to be like, yo, you should say that, but then I'm
well,
like,
you and I have talked about it too, about like certain situations that we've had, and I'm like, well, I'm sure they didn't mean it in this way, but if it really bothered you, then talk to them. And they will explain to you, Had
the instance of doing that where it's like someone frustrated you and you're like, yo, like, I can't wait for it to happen again. I need to say it. I need to say something and like tell them like, hey, check yourself, like put your friends in check. How do you kind of like do that kind of confrontation? Like that style of confrontation.
I'm not a very confrontational person.
Pretty nice. You just have a conversation. You're pretty nice because you just have an open conversation.
Yeah, I have put a couple people in check before where I'm like, hey, what you're doing isn't fucking smart. Come on, man. Like, use your brain for once.
For once? Oh my God, that's so mean.
It's just, certain situations that happen continuously. And I'm like, okay, like this has got to stop. Like, this is good. This is going to stop. Like, I'm tired of like telling you multiple times. Sometimes you just kind of have to put your foot down. And if it makes you seem like a bitch, then fuck you. But yeah, like when things happen multiple times, and it's not multiple times, but if it happens consecutively, I'm not going to keep trying with you, Like it becomes tiresome. Then I start to feel like a parent, I guess, in a way. You are trying to keep the spark alive between you and your friend, and they keep dousing it with water, and you're like, okay, I'm going to stop. But what's kind of shitty is that, like, when you back away because you are like, all right, this isn't good for me anymore. I don't need this. It sucks when those people kind of turn it on you and they're like, oh, well, they didn't want to be my friend anymore. I don't know why. I did nothing wrong. Like, fuck them. Like, They
don't want to tell this story. They don't want to take, like, oh my God, we got to do a whole episode about accountability. It's so hard to take accountability for something you've done wrong to someone. Like, you've wronged them and you're like, everyone
has a problem with that. I have a problem with that.
That narrative of like, oh my God, like I did nothing wrong. Like it leads to such toxic things because like that's what I'm working on. Like where I'm like the past relationships, yeah, they weren't, or the friendships or whatever, job relationships, colleagues, intimate ones, sexual ones. It's like they ended for a reason, whether it be on my behalf or their behalf or just a mutual falling out. Kind of thing, as in like just like we're not angry why is there anything, but it's like that accountability should always be there. It's like you need to recollect like what was I accountable for, where did I go wrong, where did I go right. But it's like that accountability is some pushed aside, it seems like, because it's so hard to have that confrontation with yourself. And that's another thing. Do you ever have a rough time like confronting yourself? Like what do you feel like you need to confront yourself with most?
I think the one thing that I need to confront myself about is I tend to feel like I'm the problem and that like I'm annoying or I'm a bother. I'm the reason why like things aren't working. And it's like I just have...
So too much accountability, huh?
I have that insecurity where I'm like, nothing I can do is right. It's really shitty. I've always been like, no, it's not me. And then there's those times where I'm like, finally over it. And I'm just like, this is it. Like, I'm done. I'm done. And everyone's like, why are you acting like this? Like, why are you being like this? And I'm like, because I'm done. And then it's something that no one expects from me because I'm usually that person who's like, it's okay. It's fine. Like, whatever just happened, like, I'll take care of it. Like, don't worry. Like,
play it off, all that. Yeah.
Even if it's not my fault, I'll still blame the situation on myself. And you've seen it.
Oh, don't blame him. The situation from Jersey Shore. No, okay, I've seen that in action. Yeah.
Yeah. So where I'm like, it's fine. I'll take care of it.
It's fine. Everything's fine. Like the dog in the room where it's like burning up and you're like, responsibility, accountability, my friends. It's fine. It's like, and like, that's the thing. It's like confronting yourself and like knowing that's not okay. Like it's not fine. But then having that side of like, well, if this is something that involves someone else, it's still on their time. Like it's a mutual respect and effort that needs to be shared where it's like time wise, dedication to the relationship and commitment to the relationship. Yeah, what's something that you feel like you have to confront with yourself as in like it's all you. It's all something that you need to work on or something that you need to be better with or something that you're doing super well with and you're doing so well with that you need to acknowledge that you grew somewhere, you know? That's a confrontation too where it's like, hey, I've excelled past like where I was before, past this ex relationship, past this job experience, past this instance. And that confrontation is like, hey, you're literally doing it. Like you're literally fucking out here succeeding in excellence, you know, like you're doing the most, you know, like
there's that part too where you're just like, where I'm like, I'm not good enough. I can't do anything. And then there's that other part of me where it's like, are you fucking serious? Like, look where you are. Like you said, like, look where you are now. Like you've grown so much in the past so many years since this person did this to you, but you still think that you're the same person when you're not, because you know when to say no. You know when things are bothering you. You know, like when these red flags pop up and you immediately back away. And it's just like, no, but I still go through the same situations because I put myself through there.
It's because you put yourself through there. Oh my God, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's like, you know, like we were talking about yesterday, like the threshold of knowing like the kind of like how you're going to approach stuff, right? Like the threshold of knowing like this is going to be a confrontation or opposed to this is a constructive conversation of like knowing how to communicate, not just how to communicate, but it's like when to communicate it. Because you know how, or you know why you need to communicate it, you know, mostly how to do it, like even with yourself.
I feel like constructive communication is, you know, that the conversation is going to end well and that you both agree that you're going to work on things, when as to confrontation, you don't know what the outcome's going to be like.
Yeah.
And you don't know how they're going to take what you're going to tell them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel that's why more of us have anxiety when it comes to confronting people, but it needs to be done, you know, like for your sake and for your mental being and sanity, it just needs to happen.
We have to journal or like we can't like have that like face to face with ourselves. And that, you know what I found helpful? Like that I suggested to someone kind of like going through it kind of thing. Oh my God, no, like the roughness of trying to have that confrontation with themselves where they tell me what's going on. They tell me like, oh my God, like I'm going through this period of disassociating, which is a very serious, like, you know, condition. Like it's a very serious, confusing thing to go through, confusing like aspect of mental state and everything. And not just that, they're distancing themselves from like their friends. And I feel it. And they acknowledged it. They've recognized it and they took accountability. Yet the conversation is kind of staying static between myself and them. I was like, okay, like you know, you're doing one part of like venting and telling me what's wrong. And you're telling a therapist and stuff and counseling. Yet have you had that confrontation with yourself, within yourself of saying, hey, like I'm doing all these things wrong. This is how I'm going to approach it. Instead of asking for advice or like just venting it out there. I was like, you could do like a video journal, like literally just record yourself talking to yourself and then watch it over again, or like a voice memo. Listen to yourself navigate it because you're talking in the most genuine way, in the most transparent way instead of writing it down, which also works. But it's like that confrontation, that practice is like not just supposed to be like cathartic in some way, but it also helps us like structure our approach to it, have kind of a formality to or informality, either one of like how we're going to construct ourselves differently after that point, you know? I don't know, because this constructive conversation, like that's so cheesy that I said with all those talks, even thinking about like all the confrontations I've had, like I feel like I'm so formal, you know, like there's so much structure to it and it kind of throws people off, you know, like even you said like you kind of want to schedule time, and in itself that's kind of like scheduling, like there's formality to it.
It comes to our growth, you know, our age, And I'm not calling us old or anything, but
no,
like,
I'm going to retire in 3 years. What are you talking about? I acknowledge how old I am. Yeah.
like in high school, people would go up to you and be like, I heard what the fuck you said, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, like come up to you and confront you like that. And it's just like, when as to like now, we're all getting older. We all have lives. We have jobs. We have families, you know, we have shit that we need to take care of. And, you know, dealing with a text like, hey, this is this and this, like at once, it could be very overwhelming for some people. But, you know, if it is overwhelming for you and you do receive a text like that, you should be like, hey, I'm in the middle of something right now. I'm not ignoring you, but I will get back to you later on. Is there a time that we can schedule like a FaceTime or we can see each other in person? You know, that's how I am. Like we said, like people are different.
Different maturity levels and different experience. Because like, I feel like we both do that. Like, I'm trying to get out of that. I'm still trying to grow in maturity wise of understanding someone else's perspective, like trying to be mindful of like what they mean and like what they're getting to. And like, you've helped me a lot with that because now I understand like that one text response of like, hey, can we talk later is never in a bad way. It's never going to be a bad way. It's literally just a conversation that you just always could be ready for. Like if someone just drops a conversation on you when you're hanging out talking, that's literally what's going to be like, you know, that's just part of conversation and communication. It's easy 101. Just take a class about it. Easy. Yeah, take our class. That growth and it's like trying to get out of that mindset, that mentality of this isn't gonna end well. Like, you know, that negative spiral of like they gotta talk to me and like they're gonna break up with me, like you said, like they're gonna it's gonna end up like this. Like even with like my like managers or like directors or people, clients I'm working with, where they're like, oh, can we hop on a call later? Like now it's to the point where it's like they're literally going to give me either constructive criticism, they're going to talk about something they want to do in the project, or they're going to say, wow, this is really cool. I just want to let you know, like in a faster way than texting you and then having this awkward back and forth, like, you know, like hours between just having to say, good job. You know, it's like they could just call me and be like, yo, good job. Or voice memo. I mean, like, I like voice memos. Like, if you just have something to say, you want it more intimate. Yeah,
I know you do.
It's super weird.
I like them too.
Them, I know we're more like face-to-face kind of people. Like we're very like extroverted in that way, but also like we like intimate settings and conversations. How do you kind of like ask someone for like their undivided attention, like when you're going to go into that confrontation?
You know how we talked about our love languages, how it's my love languages are physical touch and
so you smother them. You're like, I
quality time.
Want to say something to you.
I want to break up with you.
I want to break up with you, but not this part.
But let me hold you for a little. No.
Let me hold you like a little baby.
For me, it like, if I know that it's going to end well, like the conversation is going to end well, first of all, I like facing my person, the person that I'm talking to. If we're sitting down in a car or in like sitting on a bed or in a fucking, on a table, whatever, I like to face them. And my undivided attention is on them. I will be looking at them like, full on eye contact, letting them know, like, this is how I feel. Like, I'm not lying to you, you know? But if I know that it's something that I need to bring up because I need things to change, I like holding their hands.
Oh, like, kind of, that kind of...
Like, all like... This, not like with our hands intertwined. It's more like
playing patty cake kind of thing going on.
No. Like they'll have their hands out, and I'll put my hands like on top of them. Like like my hands will be like cupping their hands, I guess, in a way.
Yeah. Kind of feel that energy, kind of like
because I want them to know that like I do care about them, but at the same time I don't appreciate what they're doing, and I would like for what they're doing. My stomach is growling. I would like for them to consider what I have to say. You know, at the same time, I still want them to know that I care about them and I love them very much.
It's equally as important, you know? Yeah, that is a good way to show them. It's like a good way to literally feel connected to them, you know, in so many more ways. And I like that. I like that practice a lot more because I try to do that where it's like still, especially like if it's the rougher part of the conversation or confrontation, kind of like this aspects of what you want to work on or the things that you want to be more constructive or more mindful of. I really like that. And I know like we do that in our friend group and like in our friendship where we kind of like have more intimate talks more regularly than most folks, but like we kind of like get into the habit of like physically being like closer and stuff, or like, you know, eye contact. And I'm like, oh yeah, I need to like integrate that so people know I'm serious without being like, I'm serious, like listen to me, you know, pay attention. That does like literally grasp them and pull them in. They feel like that kind of like the energy, the vibes from it, like especially when it's something really like in a non-creepy way, like a friendly like pat on the back kind of thing, where it's like, oh, like, or rub on the back parent does to like a kid kind of thing, especially with friends, where it's like, oh, you're doing this so well, but it's like I really like when you're here, when we have time together, and like I feel like, you know, we've gotten a little busy, so we should just schedule some more hangouts, and that's it, instead of being like, dude, you're always busy, you never have time for me and shit like that.
Yes. Okay, so there is something that I have to say about that. A couple years ago, I was like that.
Which one? Which side?
I was you're so busy for me. Like, why don't you ever want to hang out? Okay. I was very selfish. And it was like, why don't you make time for me? Is it because you don't want to be my friend? I had to take a step back and be like, what the hell am I doing? Like, why am I expecting these people to have a certain amount of time for me? No, like, we're all doing our own thing. We're all getting older. Right. We're all growing up and learning different things. We all have work and all this stuff. And it took a couple of conversations that I had with like two of my best girlfriends at one time, where I was like, I feel like you're not paying enough like attention to me. And then they're like, well, we go to school and like we have jobs and all this stuff. And they're like, well, like, they kind of put me into check. And I was like, oh shit, the world does not revolve around me. Yeah.
Adults becoming adults, where it's like, and it's such a dynamic change, especially coming out of school in some sense, right? Yo, in high school, we used to see people for like 9 hours a day.
Every day.
Every fucking day. And if you like hang out on the weekend, you even more. And you even talk after, like on social media, or like FaceTime them like to study or to fuck around, you know? And even in college, it's like, yeah, it's less intense, it's lesser than, but you still have your group of homies. You see them all the time. At work, you literally have to see them all the time, unless you don't have the same shift and you're like, oh, fuck. Or they switch their shift and their name's still on the thing. Anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, fuck, I hate that shit. You see them more and more, but that now, especially during the pandemic, it's like, you have to put time aside. Like, you have to delegate time and schedule it even more precisely. Follow through with it even more. Check ups, like, hey, is this still happening? Not in a mean way, not in a confrontational way. It's like, hey, I doubt it's gonna happen, but like, is this still happening? Like, no, it's just like, hey, like if something came up, or like, you know, just it's literally COVID season.
Yeah.
Fucking,
Like for me, so one of my really closest friends, her and I had like not necessarily like a falling out, but like her and I had that talk of where she was like, you need to realize that like I'm going to school and I'm doing all this stuff. And she's like, I can't always talk to you every day. And that's when I was like, oh shit, like you're right. Yeah. And her and I are still really good friends. Like 3 years later when it all happened, and her and I actually talked about it not too long ago, apologized. And I was like, look, like, oh yeah, I just want you to know that like what I did back then, like it wasn't right of me. And I just want you to know that I have been working on it and I have been changing. And she's like, no, I've noticed it. Like, you know, she's like, it was like a whole 180. And because when I, you know, reach out, I'm usually like, hey, I hope you're doing really well. Let's set up a time to FaceTime, or, you know, like, I'd like to hear what you're doing. And it's just, that's not confrontation.
That's not, yeah.
It's just it's reaching out, you know?
That's so nice, because like that's like one of our mutual friends and our mutual friends, and myself, like whenever I feel like them kind of like pulling away, pushing away, either one, like, or myself doing that, we kind of check back in and be like, you know what, like exactly what you said with what happened with the other friend, where it's like you feel that tension, and I have to remind myself too, because like that happened to me, and it sucks happening, like realizing like people are busy, like this person literally has a family. Like children, they have a actual life that they're not like saying I don't have a life, but they have a life that evolving more into, and it's more fast paced, and there's more people that they are responsible for than themselves. And that same goes for people that are going to school. That's a responsibility. People that have a family, like live with their family, people that are caretakers for themselves in some way or another way, people that have pets, you know, that's a whole thing. That's a whole responsibility and dedication to. I had to put myself in check, like that confrontation of being like, yo, these people have a life that's aside from me, and I'm just a side character in the most considerable way, a vibrant side character. I'm the Danny DeVito to their fucking whatever show it is or whatever thing it is.
But you have to think about it too, that you still have a part in their show.
Exactly. I am a donkey part. I'm a fun part. I'm a necessary part.
You may not be in every episode.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you're still in certain episodes.
Hell yeah. When the credits roll of our lives, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be either the best grip, or I'm going to be the third to last person in the credits, which is still a thing. You know, it's what
you're still in the credits.
I worked on it. I'm still in the credits. And like when we die, that's the credits. And then we're like, all right, next movie, Fast and Furious, or two Kristin, two Paul. You know? Clones. Oh my God. Like, just wrap this up in a nice little Chipotle burrito. Confrontation is so we know it's necessary. We know it's fucking hard. It's like one of the worst things to think about when you don't think about it a lot. when you don't have it a lot. So it's like, I encourage people to like practice it with yourself. Like, you know, like play that role play game thing, not in a kinky way if you want though, but in the shower, you know, when you like kind of like reimagine stuff and kind of like plan your day or plan a confrontation or like daydream about it. Like, yeah, literally do that. It's a form of practice, and like do it in a healthy way, being mindful of being the most, I guess, like with the most equity and the most mindfulness you could do to respect yourself, your own boundaries, but also the other person that you're confronting. And that's it. Just don't be a piece of shit, basically. Don't be mean. Don't be mean to yourself. Don't be mean to other people. Just be perfect like us. Kristin, what do you have to say? Your last thoughts on confrontation? Do you hate it? Do you love it? Do you need it? Do you want it?
It's definitely not a want, but it's a need.
I would think, yeah.
It's a need if you need, you know, it's a need if you know that you want to keep your relationship going, you know?
Yeah.
Like you and I can have conversations all the time, and I'll be like, hey, I didn't like what you said. Or I could be like, hey, I hated that podcast episode. I hate you.
I literally, but that's why we're on this podcast, because Kristin and we're perfect at communicating. We're perfect at everything. And I'm like, yo, if Kristin says something to me, I'm like, I'll be more mindful. I hate that too. I hate that you told me, but thank you for sharing.
I feel like you and I just understand.
We understand everything in life.
Honestly, if you ever have a question, you're more than welcome to ask me, and I will give you my honest opinion on it, because that's just how I am. And if I know you as a person and I know you as a friend, I mean, even if I don't know you and you're like, hey, Kristin, I have a question for you. How do you feel about this? And I'm like, okay. And you talk to me about it. I'm like,
all right. Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to give you my opinion and I'm going to give you my advice. And you don't have to follow my advice, but you're more than welcome to listen to it and take it with you to go. Yeah. My feelings won't get hurt if you don't actually take my advice.
Like, there's literally always snippets of it, or just like that appreciation of like, you know what, even though that didn't help me, I appreciate them giving their anecdotes, giving their stories, and
taking the time, you know,
taking the time. Yeah.
That's always nice.
So much. Yeah, it's always nice to say, oh my God. It's always nice to have a friend in you, a friend in like freaking, I don't know.
I just got fed dinner.
Oh, I thought it was like a cheese plate, like a charcuterie board or something.
Charcuterie board.
Charcuterie. Where's my freaking...
Paul, like always, I love talking to you.
I love talking to you too. Oh my God, you're the greatest conversationalist I've ever met in my life.
I love you so much.
I love you, Kristin.
And I cannot wait to talk to you again.
Me too. I can't wait for our little walk. We're going to go on a little walk and just do our thing. Oh my goodness. Woo. Oh, I didn't even take a picture. No, I didn't take a picture like that.
We look so good.
We do. It's because I have a 2-point lighting.
Oh, dang.
No, I'm kidding. Look at this. Oh my God. It's never mind. Like the light. Oh my goodness. You can't hear it.
That's okay.
Going on. And I have lights everywhere. This is the 1 out of 2. Oh no. I've been one of the hosts. I'm Paul. You could follow me at Paul Salad Bar on Instagram. You could also follow me at Paul Salsa Bar on Twitter, because it is a spicier route there. I'll toss your salsa on social medias. You'll find us on personal social medias. That's the best way to contact us. You can also follow us on the website, and there's ways to contact us if you will have any questions. We'll run polls like, once a week, and we'll be recording these. And if you have any questions about life or anything, we have the answer.
Yes.
Because we are perfect.
Please send us your questions. I would love to do a day where we just answer questions.
Yeah, we could do a live or anything, like a little chat, because we could think of answers like that. You always have an answer like just ready.
Yes, we do. I'm also your host. I'm not going to tell you my name. I'm going to keep that a secret.
Ooh, I just said your name, so I'll bleep them all out.
Just kidding. I'm Kristin. You can follow me at Instagram and Twitter at KristinTin. You can also send me an email. So same as my Instagram.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to sign myself up for some spam mail then.
Hell yeah.
So here we go. Hell yeah. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. Next week, we'll be talking about something else, probably about boundaries, maybe self-acceptance and self-worth.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about the imposter syndrome. Who knows?
Bye.
Bye.
Later.